Hello, Devlin Bishop here with you, and welcome to another edition of Devlin's Pirate Radio Show. And I'm calling this episode your Christmas Survival Guide. I don't know if it's going to be helpful to you, but I'm going to talk for you for the next, hour or so. Could be less, could be a little more. Basically to try to talk out things that go on at Christmas that, I'm in the Christmas spirit. I love Christmas. I've almost got my shopping done, all the decorating's done. I've got a lot of music on my MP3. I see a lot of other people are in the Christmas spirit, but I can't help but notice that there are a lot of people that don't get in the Christmas spirit, or get in the Christmas spirit a little later, or some don't get into it a lot. And I don't blame them. Sometimes Christmas can be really stressful. Even though I love Christmas, I can see times where there's a lot of things that you could do that could lead to stress, just everything from finances to trying to get your schedules so you get to see everybody, family giving you pressure for, but you got to come on this day because that's when Aunt Mabel's going to be here and stuff like that. Not to mention the fact that, some people have gone through some hard times and, maybe they lost somebody in their life this past year, or it's just not in the mood to celebrate it this year, or lots of different things. A lot of people don't have things like money or friends or any kind of loved ones. So yeah, no wonder it's stressful. And I'm not claiming to be a counselor. I'm not claiming to be anything, but I thought we'd talk out some of the stresses, and maybe I can make you think about some things that you didn't think about. And yeah, because I know it can be crazy. So this is going to be your Christmas survival guide. Not sure if I ever did this before. Maybe I have, because I am always concerned for people. I love when I see people in the Christmas spirit, and I do my best to get them in there. But I know sometimes you can't do anything to get them in there. But let's see if we can maybe sort out one or two issues that are going on. So I'm going to take a look at, financially, how you can survive a little bit. Basically stress related, emotionally make it through, and, maybe even spiritually, and we'll just hit everything we possibly can, mentally even. We'll start with the easiest one. Well, not the easiest one, but, obviously the mental health ones or the stress are going to be a little more difficult. But let's take a look at the financial side of things. Christmas, a lot of people can be in the Christmas spirit, but sometimes your paycheck and your bills don't, let you, give like Santa. And that puts a lot of stress on you and stuff like that. And with me, I don't have, I'm not a Rockefeller by any choice, but at Christmas I tend to start early. Because I always got freaked out when people would say to me, there's only 3 paychecks left till Christmas. I always hated when people said that and stuff like that. And, when this episode airs, there might only be one and maybe none. And then you're like trying to balance your rent, pay your phone bills off, and still trying to find like several Christmas presents with that money. And, a lot of people have really cut back on Christmas, I've noticed. Though you can't tell by the malls, because I go into the malls and I see them like, filling up their carts and filling up their things. Maybe they're buying stuff for themselves, which is always a good thing. But what I do, and this won't help you this year, but what I like to do is I cut back. I literally do. My parents spoiled us as kids. We got lots of toys. We always had food in the house. My parents always made sure we had a lot. And I found out later that a lot of the times they were going into debt to do it. And I actually learned from that, where credit for me is only for like, if I have really big prescriptions, like medicine, if I have to buy glasses or something that's really like what I call urgent. If I do use it for buying presents or buying something big for myself, I try to figure out if it's a necessity And or two, will I be able to pay it off within like a short term? Because you don't want something that you buy and then you can't pay it off right away for everybody. So, so I try to use the credit for that. So even though my parents, messed up with that, I learned from them. So in some ways they taught me. I like to either put a little money away or I cut back on a couple of things I like. And you don't have to totally sacrifice to do this. I don't make a lot of money, but there are ways that you can cut back. You might like to enjoy one of those, maybe a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons coffee or one of those fancy ones. Some of those are about $5-6. If you just, don't do one even 1 or 2 times a week, you're saving a little bit of money there because they can be really expensive. Or just little things like, I don't really need to see that movie in the theater. And, some people don't want to do that, and that's fine. But for me, my friends and family are worth it. So I will do it because I love giving at Christmas. I like getting at Christmas, but honestly, I really like making people happy and seeing if they enjoy their gifts and stuff like that. Now, some people I've heard aren't even doing gifts anymore. They're still doing gifts, but it's different. They're doing experiences, which means, and I know I've talked about this in the past, but it's a good one. It's kind of like, well, I'm, a little strapped now, but a gift might not, it might be something you enjoy for a little bit, and then it just like stays on a shelf, or you don't watch it, or you don't play it, or anything. So you like say, well, let's go out and have a meal. I'll treat you to a dinner. So if you're financially strapped, you can at least tell them, well, we'll do a dinner in the new year and we'll create a memory, which is a good thing. That's just a wonderful thing that you can do. And like just, we always talked about going away for a weekend. Well, I will cover some of that for you, or, let's do that. Something like that. So it's like stuff that you can make promises for. But make sure you keep those promises, because I've had people do that to me and then they've made no effort to do it. And I'm like, I'd rather just get nothing than do that. You can buy little things, agree to have a limit, or you could do like a pick names out of a hat. I know some families don't like this. We started doing this at the end of when our big family get-togethers. I didn't think I'd like it, but it actually works out pretty good. And you save money because you buy a little bigger gift, but you're only buying for one person in the house. But the only problem with that is that sometimes you get a person that you don't want to shop for, or is hard to shop for, I should say. And then you get more stressed out because you're like, I didn't get the person I wanted. That became the thing for us, Some people were just like, oh, don't pick this person, don't pick this person. And then when you did, you were just like, oh, great. And you do your best to get something. So, that's a good way to do it. I love getting gifts, but they don't have to be really expensive. I like getting jewelry, but I tell people that I don't like expensive jewelry. I'm quite happy with, things under $5 or $10. I like sparkly. I don't care. Let people know. If they're financially strapped, you can just say, well, just get me a little something. I always found, like, even going to the dollar store, if you know a friend that, doesn't mind going to the dollar store or something, that you can just fill up a bag for like $10. And if you think you're going to get quite a few things, even the dollar stores aren't really a dollar store anymore, you still get 2 or 3 things. And it's amazing the stuff you can get. And then just put it in like a festive stocking or something. And you can get them at the dollar store for $1 or $1.50 or something. And there you go. It's a nice little gift. It's just a little something. You don't have to break the bank. And it's just a nice way of saying thank you and stuff. And, you can always sit there and say, well, what if they don't appreciate it? Well, if they don't, then why are you friends with that person? Then don't bother buying anything, because even if you went to a high-end store, you probably wouldn't. You can always make somebody something, if you're artistic or you cook or something like that, you can make something. Now, I know making stuff can be just as expensive now, ingredients, jars, like if you're making jams or preservatives or something, buying all your jars and stuff and giving them away. But, we get a lot of people coming by Value Village to buy like baskets and things, just because all you have to do is, a lot of them are in great shape. Just give them a good wash and stuff, and they're brand new. And, with like mason jars, we get lots of people in the fall when they're doing canning and stuff, and not canning, but jarring and stuff, that they get them, and, you just nice hot water to sterilize them, and they're all good to go. That's what they used to do in the past. Why not do it again? But again, even like cooking or, knitting something, wool is expensive, and, so sometimes that's not even an option too. If you do have a little bit of money to spend, I did a big segment on this, and I'm going to do a little hint of it again, because I want to do this again. I like to shop locally wherever I can, but financially I can't shop locally. Now, I agree that the people who run these small stores and stuff agree that, I agree that they need to charge more because they run a business and their product is unique, and they have every right to put the price on it what they want. But sadly, some of us can't afford that, and we'd like to. But check out these places, because a lot of time they do have affordable stuff in them, and definitely support local communities. But I'm just saying that, you can't always do it financially. You just can't. I wish I could, but anybody who's listened to this regularly knows I've had places that you can talk, and I've interviewed a couple of people that had their own businesses, and by all means support them. But I realistically know that not everybody out there can afford that, stuff like that. But if you can, check out the stores, because one, they usually have affordable stuff in there as well. And, as I said, little stuff just is nice too, for little gifts and that. Be courteous to everybody. I'm going to put this in with the financial side, because of the fact that everybody's out Christmas shopping. I've heard many people talking about how we're cutting back this year, not shopping. But I've been out shopping a couple times, and I've been there at nights, like Saturday nights. I've been there in the middle of the day, because my partner and I were off for a Thursday, and we were out in the morning and the afternoon. And the malls are just packed. So I don't know about all this cutting back, because I'm seeing a lot of full baskets and carts and lineups still. I'm still sadly seeing people just absolutely trashing stores, and worse, trashing the people that work there and other customers. And I don't like that. Christmas to me is that moment when you go in and, you see that there's people smiling, and they say, Merry Christmas, season's greetings, Happy Holidays, whatever you say, and they say it back to you, and they smile. And you don't get that all year round. I wish we could. But I'm even noticing that's disappearing a little bit. And, these people work hard. I work in retail, and I've got a soft spot for them. I agree with the motto that everybody should work in retail or at a bar or a restaurant for at least 6 months. I think people would treat people so much differently if they had that insight, because it's stressful for them. And just be courteous. There's so much butting in line, or, oh, I can't believe I'm waiting. That's the problem. We live in a world now where we weren't taught patience. We weren't taught how to wait. And sadly, it's starting to show. I remember waiting for 5-10 minutes in a line at Christmas meant nothing. And now people can barely wait in a 3-minute line without them bitching or complaining or talking about how management is absolutely ridiculous and stupid and stuff. Or people saying, "Oh, I have to pick up my kids and stuff." Like, well, watch the watch. You just shopped in here for 2 hours. Now you're at the checking line for 2 minutes, and you're complaining because you're not getting good service. Stop shopping earlier, and then put your kids on the top of your list. So when you're out and about, whether you're local shopping in a mall, Walmart, I don't care where you are, be nice to people, retail, other people, everything. Parking is shouldn't be Mad Max Fury Road around the Christmas holidays. It should be, people being courteous. But I know everybody's fighting. There's 8 cars driving around in a crowded parking lot looking for that one empty spot. Again, it's crazy, but be courteous, It just little things that can make somebody's Christmas good. Let somebody have that parking lot. That's going to make their day, and hopefully they'll pay it forward in the future. Yes, there's likelihood they won't, but I'm not trying to be cynical on this. I'm trying to be logical, and I'm hoping that they probably would do that. So a little couple financial tips there to help you find ways to do things. Stress is everywhere. I'm lucky. I have a couple things that we have planned, but I have a lot of time at Christmas too where I don't have things planned. The last couple of years, I've actually snuck off to the movies on Christmas Eve afternoon. And it's been amazing. It's just been nice to have some time to myself before, I entertain or anything like that. And I love that. But there was a time I remember when you had to okay, we have to be here. We'll stay there for 3 hours. Then we have to go because we have to get to your parents' place to this and that and this. And it's no wonder there's so much stress in the world. I suggest you pick and choose. Maybe... First of all, I'd pick only one ceremony a day. I know there's a lot of cases where it's okay, we got to leave now because we got to go to the other side of the family. And I know that everybody wants to be on Christmas Day or Christmas Eve, but you know what? There's a lot of other times during the holidays that you can easily get together. And one of the things I did with my family is that we used to go up on Christmas Eve. We used to drive, get stuck in the traffic, drive home. And I just one day said, screw it. We're going to start meeting the week before Christmas. And at first, a lot of people weren't fans. But after we started doing it, people actually liked it and said, why haven't we done this before? We actually had a lot more time because we were running, because we had 4 of us getting ready to go, and one of us always had to work later on Christmas Eve. Some people were off, some people got off at noon, and then there was always the one that had to get 3:30, so we're stuck in the traffic. But we changed it up and said, look, at Christmas it doesn't matter what day you celebrate it on. We're still doing something for Christmas. So let's do it early, let's do it. There's 5-6 days in between Christmas and New Year's that you could do stuff. So, and I think that's why you see Christmas office parties are being pushed earlier, because they don't coincide with family get-togethers. And speaking of it, to avoid stress, don't watch your behavior at a Christmas party. If you're lucky enough to have a Christmas party that has alcohol, don't abuse it. Hey, the boss is paying for a full bar, Yeah, enjoy yourself, but know your limitations, because I'll tell you, you're going to do stupid things and you might not remember them, but you're going to have a whole year to deal with these people that you work with that are going to remind you. And sometimes you might even cross the line to the fact that your bosses are going to be looking at you yeah, let's get him out of here and stuff, or saying, so just behave at the office Christmas party, okay? That's a great stress rule that does it. And avoid stress altogether. Do not drink and drive. Don't even attempt it. Do the old math in your head. Well, I had a beer, but that was 3 hours ago, so I should be good. Forget it. If you want to drink at all, make sure you have a designated driver, you get a cab ready, or some alternative, whether you're getting an Uber or whatever it is. Don't even risk it. Don't even risk it. Because not only are you putting yourself at risk, you're putting the people that's with you at risk, and the people who are nice enough throwing you a party. Because, I got my Smart Serve, and I did a lot of reading on that. And every case that I read, bars were responsible, hosts of parties were responsible, bartenders were responsible, waiters and waitresses were responsible. The only one ever not responsible for any of the scenarios I ever saw was the person drinking. So if you go to even a friend's Christmas party and you plan to get ripped, then make sure you have alternative ways to get home. Don't risk getting into an accident and then finding out later that your so-called friend is suing you because you provided them with too much alcohol. Don't even do it. And there's nothing worse than if you throw a party and somebody leaves with a little bit, oh no, I can drive. And then you're worried and waiting for that text or phone call that said, yeah, I got home safe. I don't have to tell you the ramifications of that. I do not have to tell you the ramifications of that. We all have family that always have stipulations on us. The ones that are you have to be here. You have to do this. You have to that. You don't have to do anything. You don't want to. And as you grow up, you start realizing that, okay, I enjoy going to this Christmas celebration, but I've never liked this one. Don't feel obligated that you have to go, and don't be afraid to tell somebody if they're being a little bit pushy just because you feel that that's the way they need to celebrate Christmas. Forget that. Don't be afraid to say, no, I don't want to go to that anymore. But you got your mother or your aunt or father or something saying, but it's tradition. It's like, well, you know what? I've never enjoyed it. It's time to put my foot down, and that's a great stress reliever. You won't believe how wonderful it feels when you actually say no, and you get to mean it. It's a wonderful feeling, wonderful feeling. I hope none of this sounds like bah humbug. I'm thinking it's good. I think this is all good stuff. I think it is. Don't be afraid to, take some time out for yourself, or, with your loved ones or something, just take a moment. Go take a hot bath. Go read a book for a little while. Go listen to some music. Go watch a special that nobody else wants to watch but you. Take those moments to breathe during those and really enjoy it, and you'll recharge your batteries. Because stress comes up at Christmas at all angles. And, stress is a very difficult thing, because sometimes you think you're dealing with it right, and then it shows up in parts of your body that you just can't even imagine, whether it's from teeth or headaches or just aches in your body. Stress plays a big part in that, and you certainly don't need that. So, when the world's getting you down around the Christmas holidays, skip that shower and find a bath bomb, throw it in, and lock the door for 45 minutes and have me time. Don't be afraid. Christmas is about giving and sharing and being with people you love, but you can include that in yourself. You can give stuff to yourself. You can make time for yourself. You can love yourself for some time, and sometimes you need to charge your batteries. All right. I don't know if this is going to help any of you, but I don't know. I feel less stressed already talking about it. I think it's time for our first break, and then I will be back to take a look at more of the emotional side, maybe a little spiritual side too. And we'll come back right after this.
May the blessings of the world's most beloved holiday be with you. Every year I come from afar to bring the joyous spirit of the Christmas season into your hearts and homes. I fling good cheer And did you follow me into the land where there is peace on earth, goodwill toward men? And so once again, on behalf of the management of this theater and all the employees, I wish you one and all a very Merry Christmas.
Welcome back. As I said, I'm in the Christmas spirit. I'm looking forward to the holidays. We're getting closer. Is it wrong that I'm probably looking forward to Star Wars The Last Jedi just a little bit more? Maybe not. Maybe not. No, Christmas is still number one with me. But I happen to know that some of you are probably out there. Devlin, how do you do it? I can't get in the Christmas spirit. They're playing Christmas music at work all the time. You'd think it would rub off. Well, the Christmas spirit just doesn't show up like that. It's inside of you. And a lot of times you can easily keep it away. And I can't magically snap my fingers and make you have the Christmas spirit. I've helped a few people. I've just kind of talked to them about it, and they've made me feel great by saying, you helped me get into the spirit, and thank you for that. But I can't magically say that I'm going to do that for you by listening to this show. But hopefully you don't feel as alone. If you're not in the Christmas spirit, some ways that you might find it, like, sometimes playing music does help. Sometimes they play too much Christmas music. I preferably like to add my Christmas music a little bit at a time. And I don't like to go 100% Christmas in my MP3 player until actually Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Besides that, I still like to mix my Christmas music with, regular music. And I like it. Sometimes it has some nice mixes that you'd be surprised, And, you might get Beatles' Baby Drive My Car with Jingle Bells. And you'll be like, oh, that's kind of a modern, duo kind of thing. And sometimes they don't mix at all, but it's fun. Watching specials and movies sometimes help. I know some people said, I tried to watch my favorite movie, but it didn't work. Well, again, they're not magic either. But, if you get yourself into a special zone and stuff, maybe try something new. Maybe try something different. YouTube's filled with a lot of old-style holiday specials, and that would be kind of fun to, just watch some of those. Maybe you need some rarer stuff or some crazy stuff or just something different. Another thing that I've talked about in the past is try to find ways to volunteer. Around the holidays, they usually get quite a lot of volunteers around the holidays. It's the rest of the year that a lot of places like soup kitchens or places where they give out food or warm clothing, it's the rest of the year they don't get things, but you can still find places to volunteer. Maybe it's a community center or a club that you're involved in or a church. Maybe you avoid when they have the volunteer sheet pages for the church. Maybe this year sign on it and you might see a different side. I find that sometimes, like with retail, I worry that I'm going to lose the Christmas spirit one day because you see the greed of people, just caring about the bottom line rather than, letting people in line before them. So far, knock on wood, that hasn't happened. But maybe sometimes seeing things from a different angle. I know when I worked at the soup kitchen, I really felt when I was going home like I'm going to be so honored at the meal I have, even if it's craft dinner or something. Just because I realize now so many people that don't have that, or I'm going to cherish Mike or my friends. So volunteering for something is good, and there's always need for volunteers in various things. And it doesn't just have to be stuff like a soup kitchen. Find out ways to volunteer at like an arts community center or something, or a play. They always need people in the back to help with, scripts or getting people, ready and stuff like that. And, look into that stuff. It might take some time to get ingratiated, but it certainly might help you get into the Christmas spirit just by being around people or seeing things like that. Another thing is to check like for us, we have like local things like the View magazine, but you can also go online and look for things. And a lot of people, when they look for Christmas things, they look for just like the big things. But look for like a Christmas bazaar or a church that's doing like a penny sale, or there's a lot of homemade Hamilton things that basically, they're little bazaars that have people that make stuff, and you can buy that. And yeah, stuff like that is kind of fun. You might find like little kids doing pageants or something, or maybe even a social group that gets together and just talks about, the holidays, or how they don't enjoy the holidays and stuff. I always promote the fact that you should go and check out those little clubs, because you take chances on things, and that's when your life changes. That's when you find the things to do that. I'm not a religious person, but why not look into recapturing your spiritual side? As in, oh, my family used to go to church, but when I got older, I avoided it. Why don't you give it a shot again? A lot of churches will definitely let you in and come watch, the service and the sermon. You might meet a lot of people, talk to people. You don't have to be totally into the faith to talk to people. But I found when I was searching for stuff, I love talking to people of different faiths and stuff, and it gave me an understanding of where they belong and stuff. And who knows, you might not have the faith, but, after, a couple sermons, maybe a thing, you might be into it. And I'm not here telling you, what faith it could be. I'm telling you, try different things if it isn't, or think of what your family was and maybe give it a try, It might be just the thing you need to give you that boost to, find your spiritual side. But emotionally, Christmas can be a roller coaster ride, because not only do you have those happy, gushy feelings, but, you have all that stress, getting things ready, making sure the dinner's good, making sure the decorations look good, making sure the kids are good. You're going to have a house full in just a few hours, and the kids have just made it messy again, and trying to get them to, do everything. There's so much stress in the world. And then some people have different kinds of stress. It's like, they have their office Christmas party, and then they go home to a lonely apartment because they don't have any friends and stuff. And, that's when I say, you should definitely try to get out there. But just saying get out there, I know it's not easy. I know there's days that I say I got to get out and meet people, or I got to go out and hang out with people I know, and I just can't motivate myself. But when it gets to a dangerous level, you have to make a big decision, and that's, do you want to live like this, or do you want to go out and change your life? And I'm shocked at how many people will prefer to live like this. Like, I'm going to hide away from the world, but hopefully one day the world will come to me, and the world just does not work for that. Every friend or family I ever had was basically because I worked on it, whether it was a friend that I met somewhere because I went to a play or a club or a thing, or, somebody I met on Facebook and we still chatted and sent emails to another. That's still working for it. But then there's lots of other reasons. You might have lost somebody you loved. A lot of people get dumped just before Christmas, and so they're brokenhearted. And, the last thing you want to do is spend time with, other couples when you're now just been dumped. Or maybe somebody you love passed away. Maybe they had an accident or succumbed to an illness in the years, and you can't even face putting up a tree, let alone dealing with Christmas. The only thing I can say is that's really up to you. Definitely take your chance to mourn, but you have to decide whether you're going to give up or continue. And my theory on that, and this is not the right theory or the wrong theory, but my theory is that if you give up all your Christmas traditions when that person dies, you're basically letting them die in vain. Due to the fact that if I died, the last thing I would want is to look down on earth and find out that all my friends have decided they're not celebrating Christmas. Knowing my friends, they'd celebrate harder, but I would hate to see them giving up and not having a nice Christmas again, trying to make the best of the traditions, even the ones I was involved in. I would like to see that from heaven and say, hey, stop it. I know people who haven't put up trees in years because they've given up on it. And I'm like, do you think your loved one really wanted you to live on this earth? Do you think it's paying respect to them because you're not? But I get it. Sometimes you can't just bring yourself to do it. And I also get that sometimes you hit that point of no return where Christmas Eve comes along or any time during the holidays and you think about dying. I have never shied away from this topic. I just did a topic a couple of episodes ago about how, yes, sometimes I think I want to die. And, it wasn't just a depressing thing. I also talked about how I fight that I don't. But I do know that people lose hope because people still die. And it's important for us to keep the dialogue going. And so I really wanted to take time to deal with this due to the fact that it's a big part of Christmas. It might not be a big part of your Christmas, but while you're celebrating and cranking your tunes in your car, going from destination to destination, there's a real reality that there might be somebody in a house or an apartment that is sitting there listening to Christmas music with a gun on the table, or a knife, or poison, or pills, and they're seriously contemplating going all the way tonight. And it's a scary thought, and a lot of people just don't want to think about it, but it's a possibility. If you are listening to this and you think of people that are maybe lonely, or sometimes, you think that they're maybe just a little too happy, it's a very real possibility that you might get a call saying they're no longer in the world. I recently had a young man that I was not really close with, but we did spend some time together, and he interviewed me for a college radio show. And I got a chance to get to know this man, and we talked about depression and stuff like that. And he told me he suffered from it. And I said I did too. I've not been clinically, like nobody's ever said it officially, but I can tell. Something's just not right in my head sometimes. And I have definitely thought of suicide quite a bit, and I fight it. But sometimes it's not easy. So I wanted to wrap this thing with a look at that, because I worry that there are people that might one day be out of my life. Oh, I didn't really finish the story. I tend to do that. The young man that I hung out with, I recently found out was dead. He's no longer in the life, because I went and wanted to send him an email on Facebook, and I noticed that his mother wrote about how he passed. And when I read more and more on his Facebook, I could put together that he dealt with mental health issues like he told me to, but he lost the fight. And this boy was so full of life, but he did go through a phase where he just was acting really weird. And I'd ask him about it, and he wouldn't answer. And then, I found out he died. And it's got me thinking that I've always been someone who's tried to promote it as much as I can. I don't have a big audience or anything, but hey, you might be somebody who's been thinking about it lately, and you press play. And I'm not going to avoid the topic. And you might even be very uncomfortable me talking about it right now, but I really hope you don't turn off the thing right now, because we all think about it. But only some of us succeed in it. And I can't say those people are better off, because I recently did the Devlin Christmas monologues, and I had a moment when I talked about being in a weak point, and that when I was 24 years old, I came very close to killing myself. And I was looking into an audience of people that I knew. There was some people I didn't know, but a lot of the faces I didn't know. And I actually stopped, looked around, and I actually said at the thing, it actually terrifies me to think of the people I did not meet or the situations that didn't happen if I took myself out of the equation. Now, you might be thinking, but you have so much life, you have so much energy, it's not going to happen for me. You don't know that. Since I'm not a professional, I'm going to read a little bit for you. You know, other places will be celebrating Christmas by reading "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" or something, but I'm going to actually read what's on our new Canadian International, maybe not Canadian International. Anyhow, Canada has set up a new hotline, a crisis hotline, that they are releasing the information for, and it's amazing. I actually saw somebody post this, and then I posted it, and then I'm surprised how much stuff I read about Trump or Game of Thrones or stuff like this, and nobody will share the suicide hotline, and it saddens me. And it makes me think, well, no wonder people are putting the end to their lives. Nobody really cares. They'd rather talk about how, and I'm not saying you shouldn't talk about Trump or Game of Thrones. What I am saying is you should also share this stuff. So today I'm going to read you about some things. First of all, I'm going to give you the information you need. And if you did press play and realized, oh my God, I'm thinking about it, please write this down or listen to it intently. The phone number is 1-833-456-4566. Okay? That's 1-833-456-4566. That's a Canadian crisis service hotline. And it's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, with lots of people who are thinking about it. Like, I can't even imagine working in a place like this, just because they'd be constantly bombarded with this. And yeah, I can't even fathom it. There is also it says chat. It's HTTP. The two dots, I can't remember what they are, the // and www.crisisservicescanada.ca/en/. For texting, 45645. Texting 45645. You can find all this on the internet, but in case you're like not interested in going, I'm going to read you this. According to this, you can also find local crisis centers in Alberta, British Columbia, Manitoba, New Brunswick, Newfoundland and Labrador, Northwest Territories, Nova Scotia, Nunavut, Ontario, Prince Edward Island, Quebec, and Saskatchewan. Now I'm going to read some of this stuff on the page because I was reading it earlier and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to read this because this was written, I hope, by professionals, and it's important to know, and especially during the holidays. There are many crisis centers available 24 hours a day to talk to you. The last thing that most people expect is that they will run out of reasons to live. But if you are experiencing suicidal thoughts, you need to know that you're not alone. By some estimates, as many as 1 in 6 people will become seriously suicidal at some point in their lives. And I would assume that increases around the holiday season. So don't feel bad if you're feeling this. A lot of people go through it. But we're trying to get you past this. Here's some important facts we would like to share with you. Suicidal thinking is usually associated with problems that can be treated. So basically they're saying there's usually ways out of the situations. You just might not know it yet. Clinical depression, anxiety disorders, chemical dependency, and other disorders produce profound emotional distress. They also interfere with effective problem solving. But you need to know that studies show that the vast majority of people who receive appropriate treatment improve or recover completely. Even if you have received treatment before, you should know that different treatments work better for different people in different situations. Several tries are sometimes necessary before the right combination is found. So if one does not work, don't think that's the end of the world. There might be other options for you. If you are unable to think of solutions other than suicide, it is not that solutions don't exist, only that you are currently unable to see them. It's not saying you're stupid, it's not saying that you're one-sided, it just means that maybe you haven't taken time. And sometimes talking to people will open up other solutions and possibilities. Therapists and counselors and sometimes friends can help you to see solutions that otherwise are not apparent to you. I know this is probably bad podcasting to read this, but I think all this stuff is really good and I think it's important. Suicidal crises are almost always temporary. Although it might seem as if your unhappiness will never end, it is important to realize that crises are usually time-limited. Solutions are found, feelings change, unexpected positive events occur. Suicide is sometimes referred to as a permanent solution to a temporary problem. Don't let suicide rob you of better times that will come your way when you allow more time to pass. Again, I said that at 24, I came close to killing myself. I had the knife I was going to use to cut myself with. I had all the notes written to people, family and friends, and I also had like music picked out that I wanted played at my funeral. If I killed myself that night, I couldn't even begin to tell you the stuff that I would have missed. From finding my partner to finding some of the closest friends of my life, by having experiences like putting on shows, teaching people, doing this podcast. And it's important that you realize that just because you're unhappy now does not mean you can't change things up a bit. So I can't stress that longer. That's not the word I was looking for. Problems are seldom as great as they appear at first glance. Job loss, financial problems, loss of important people in our lives, all such stressful events can seem catastrophic at the time they are happening. Then, months or years later, they usually look smaller and more manageable. Sometimes imagining ourselves 5 years down the road can help us to see that a problem that currently seems catastrophic will pass and that we will survive. That doesn't diminish the stuff that goes through. Losing a person in your life does not ever get 100% resolved, ever. 5 years down the road, it might be easier to deal with, but that doesn't diminish what those people meant to you in any way. As I said, they want to see you move on. They want to see you strive. They don't want to look down from heaven or whatever you believe and see a person that has just died on earth but is still in a living person's body. I guarantee that's what's going on. Reasons for living can help sustain a person in pain. A famous psychologist once conducted a study of Nazi concentration camp survivors and found that those who survived almost always reported long beliefs about what was important in life. You too might be able to strengthen your connection with life if you consider what has sustained you through hard times in the past. Family ties, religion, love of art or nature, and dreams for the future are just a few of the many aspects of life that provide meaning and gratification, but which we can lose sight of due to emotional distress. When we're concentrating on darker things, we tend to lose the fact that we still have people in our lives, or we have religion, or we have, our love of doing certain things. We have to remember these things are important. They are a part of life too. And sometimes we tend to shoot them past. And that's not a good thing. Do not keep suicidal thoughts to yourself. Help is available for you, whether through a friend, therapist, or member of the clergy. Find someone you can trust and let them know how bad things are. This can be your first step on the road to healing. Contact a crisis center. There's no shame in contacting a crisis center. I have contacted crisis centers before. I've never called a suicide one. I did not have a good experience with it, I won't lie, but that doesn't mean I'm going to just stop. And if I ever find myself in a bad place again, I tend to turn to my friends or other things to get me through it. But I wouldn't hesitate to use this number if I really needed it. So here it is again. 1-833-456-4566. 1-833-456-4566. And the texting number is 45645. And www.crisisservicescanada.ca/en/. I can't guarantee we're going to get through Christmas together. I can't guarantee you're going to have the Christmas spirit, but I hope this helped in some way. We talked a little bit about emotional, spiritual, financial, stress, all the stuff that you get on top of all that great, sparkly, Christmassy stuff that we do every year. I think the reason I get through Christmas so often is because I acknowledge that there's so much negativity in the season that you can actually still enjoy Christmas and still realize there's a lot of stuff out there that's not good for you. But as you get older, you start getting to a point where you start changing things up. You know, I don't want to spend as much money on Christmas. Let's find alternatives. I don't want to go to every place I'm invited to. Let's learn how to say no. It doesn't make you a bad person. It just makes you a person who wants to start surviving. I don't think you should totally be selfish, but as in, I'm going to just do everything I want. I know people preach that, but I think there are times that you do have responsibilities and have to do things you don't want to do. But you don't have to do them all. You can compromise and figure it all out. I hope I've helped in some ways. Next week I'm hoping to have a very special Christmas show for you, but I hope I've helped you at least begin to try to survive or at least wrap your head around some stuff. And do not be afraid to call that number if you need it. Okay? One more time. 1-833-456-4566. And even if you don't need it, why don't you post that on your Facebook somewhere? Because somebody might need it. Somebody that's really close to you that you might not know might need it. And somebody that you might call in the new year and be saddened to find out that they couldn't get through Christmas. Anyhow, have yourself a great week. I look forward to talking to you next week, and see you soon.